My brake reservoir is full, but my brake pedals, they just go down. Okay, so we've got a sprinter fault on the dash here. Usually it's red. I can tell you, I've already looked underneath the van. Somebody replaced a bunch of brake lines underneath this thing, and I don't suspect that they did this correctly. So we're gonna show you the correct way of doing it. First thing I did was I grabbed my owner's manual, and I need to remove fuse number 22, which is for my ABS. Do this with my key turned on. Once I remove that fuse, I can turn the key off. We're gonna bleed the brakes with the engine off and the key off. Okay, so we need to look at her cap. We need .4+ on this. Fuse removed, I can actually pump them up with the vehicle turned off. Then we should be able to pump up the brakes. No matter what kind of automobile you're working on, if you're just doing pads and rotors, you will never need to bleed the brakes. You are only pushing fluid around inside a closed system, and if you didn't open the system, it definitely won't need bleeding. So my name's Clay with the Clayway here in Western Grand Rapids, Muskegon, Michigan. And if this video is helpful, please consider subscribing, clicking the notification, sharing my videos. Give me them sweet old thumbs up. Remember, you can't break what's already broken. And according to good man math, if you do it yourself, that's the kind of money you're saving. If you don't know already, I am quite good with sprinter vans. I know just about everything there is to know. And what I don't know, I just get rid of. So check out my sprinter playlist. If you got a question for me, hit me up on Clay's AC and Auto Repair on the Facebook Messenger. I answer them for absolutely free. I can't help you with baby mama drama, but I can probably help you fix your whip. And that squishy noise that you were hearing when I was doing that, actually a blown out brake booster. This can cause poor engine performance. A bad brake booster will not cause spongy brakes. It will cause very hard brakes, but will always stop. A brake booster works off of engine vacuum. It sucks air and allows you to push that pedal down easier. But it definitely won't make it softer unless the engine is running. It amplifies the signal of your foot to allow it to push it down simpler. Stuff like that, but I don't have to worry about none of that because mine's deleted. Now I'm gonna throw my brake fluid in there, and I'm probably gonna fill it up pretty high. You really shouldn't go past these marks, and as your brake pads wear down, this brake fluid is gonna go down below. You should never have to fill this reservoir. As your brake pads wear down, your reservoir will go down because your lines are gonna have more brake fluid in them. And no matter what anybody says, you are never going to need to replace brake fluid. Brake fluid is forever. Contrary to popular belief, wasting money is for fools. Life will nickel and dime you to death, and hydraulic fluid lasts forever. I'm gonna put it to you this way. You don't have to change out your brake fluid because it's hydraulic fluid. It doesn't break down over time. The only reason you'd ever change your brake fluid is if it got contaminated with like some water, which is gonna cause your brakes to lock up over time, because as that water expands, it pushes on the brakes. Should never have brake fluid that needs to be changed. I don't give a crap what anybody says. Sometimes that's recommended in the owner's manual to get you to bring the vehicle to the Mercedes dealership in this situation for service. There's certain things that do not break down, and it's not necessary to change because if the system is completely closed and intact, it's not necessary. One of the biggest reasons for spongy brakes is because people will put the calipers on the wrong side. The bleeder screw should always be up towards the top, or at the very top, to be honest with you. You don't necessarily have to jack these up to get up underneath it to bleed the brakes out, but if you're gonna jack it up underneath the center of the rear end right here. Make sure you put it somewhere safe along this rail right here, preferably on a solid structure. Don't under any circumstance ever jack up right here on the pinch weld like you would on some other vehicles. It won't lift it and it will crush it, but I would assume the dummies that don't know that aren't watching a video on how to do this either. We're going to start with the right rear wheel on the passenger side, furthest away from the actual brake fluid reservoir. Okay, so coming in from the front of the wheel, we always want to make sure that we go around and make sure we loosen these up. And if it's not just, if it was before the last time I loosened it up, it was just dripping out of here and wasn't dripping down like that. So it definitely had air in the system. And this is while no one is inside the vehicle, I loosened this up. You cannot hurt the system if somebody does not push down on the brake pedal. Basically meaning that you could essentially bleed these brakes without anybody there or anybody pressing down on the pedal. You could open up one at a time and allow the air to escape overnight. Although this would require you making sure that the master cylinder and brake reservoir never runs out of fluid. But this would take about 4 days, when in all honesty, bleeding the brake system might take you 40 minutes at most. And that's if you go around the vehicle 3 or 4 times. With your assistant, you're gonna leave the ignition off. You don't need to start the vehicle or anything. That's just gonna create a spongy pedal because of the brake booster. And you're gonna have him pump this thing up and down until that pedal gets up and he can barely push it anymore. What's happened is the fluid has been pushed into the lines, and if he never gets it and it's always spongy like that, just leave it. He'll hold it. When he holds it down, you're gonna go back and open up the bleeder screw and fluid should come out. So he's pumped up the line. I'm gonna loosen up the bleeder when I find the wrench. As he holds that, we open up the bleeder. Should yell floor when he feels the pedal go all the way to the floor. Did you feel the pedal go all the way to the floor yet? Yeah. You didn't say nothing. Yeah. So now you tighten that up, and I say, tight, and he'll pump it up again. Oh, that's already feeling better. It's yelled good, so he's holding the pedal, and as I open this, woo, we had some air in that, buddy. Now we tighten this back up, and he pumps it up again. We usually do this 3 times in a row. Oh, see that air? You don't usually catch that on camera like that. Pump it up, there was still air in it.
Oh yeah, she's getting there now, baby. Good.
I'm thinking that they just didn't pump it up well enough, but could have been that they had lines that were loose as well. And sometimes I've seen lines that get loose and they don't even leak fluid. There was some more air, and that's frothy stuff. Go ahead. Here in a moment, we're gonna have to go back and check the master cylinder because we've already pushed out about 3 or 4 times on this one wheel. I have not switched wheels yet. All right, we're gonna leave this wheel, go to the driver's side rear wheel, and do the same procedure. Check this out. This is how big a dipshits whoever worked on this thing was. These are literally valve stem covers. Being the next day and all, after I shot this, I kind of have to admit, it did keep dust out of them. They all worked, and they didn't fall off, so maybe I'm the dumbass. It's been known to happen a time or two. Actually, 1,000.
Good. More.
That's really how that fluid should come out when they don't have air inside them. If you notice the difference between the original one I did and that one, I'm quite certain it was that passenger side rear that had the most air in it. I'm going to spare you the agony of watching me go around this thing and do the same damn thing for 20 minutes. I doubt very few of you don't know the procedure, but if you don't, we go from the passenger side wheel to the driver's side wheel, passenger side front to the driver's side front. And you keep working in that circle till you get all the air out. These lines are very long. This is a 170-inch van, so this may take a little bit longer than your typical car if you've got air in the system. Looks like our level's about right. We'll probably put it up to here, just so we have it. Now, remove the cap, put your wrench on here. Have him pump it up. Pump it up. Open this till you get a little bit of fluid coming out of there. And we had a little bit of air in there for sure. Usually do it 2 or 3 times I always find if I do it 3 times and I start working around the vehicle, that's usually the best. How does the pedal feel now?
Oh, dude, rock fucking solid.
It might not need a bleed on the front, but just in case, we've already started doing it. We're gonna do good measure and we're gonna go over to that wheel next. I think we may have gotten it licked, Christian, but I've had it hard before.
That's what she said.
You should be able to leave for a couple moments and your pedal should still be stiff. Now it does move this much, but you can definitely tell that there's some serious pedal right there that was not there before. So I'm super stoked about that. Now I wonder if I replace the ABS fuse, if I'm still gonna have a ABS workshop warning. Other thing that I'm curious about is if I drive this thing without replacing the ABS fuse, and then I replace the ABS fuse because there's something actually wrong with the module, will it not work any longer? Wow, even with that ABS fuse out of there, well, I didn't have lights, but now I do. I'm still gonna drive it around and see what happens. Now, with that way, I still have good pedal, which was not the case. When I got this van, never had any brakes. I still drove it all the way to Detroit and I barely had any brakes. About 300 miles. And if you're ever curious if I make mistakes, I most certainly did. I didn't have my platform on both pieces of these metal, and obviously it rolled that. I got lucky that it didn't put a hole in my oil pan. Luckily it's my van, so don't ever jack it up from here, jack it up from back there. That one is extremely solid. I did raise it up a little bit to bleed the brakes because it was easier to get under. I'm kind of a fat old ass. Without that ABS fuse in there, this thing won't shift or do anything that it should. Go ahead and replace this fuse. Those are some excellent brakes, and I just threw a wrench off the side of the van. Well, there goes another 10 millimeter. If this video was helpful, please consider subscribing, clicking the notification, sharing my videos, give me them sweet old thumbs up. Check out my Sprinter playlist. It's pretty sick. I'll show you some pretty dope stuff to do on these NV3s. I fixed just about everything on them. Hope you enjoyed the video. Don't be the next to them. Be the first of you. And if anyone else can do it, you can do it too. God bless, folks. Have the greatest of days.